This video is for those who wish to paint military Legos and don't know where to start. It is a basic process and is meant to be fun. Thanks for watching.
Hey, this is Jack Bricks with So Many Bricks, and I'm back here to show you how I'm going to paint this Cobi Opel Blitz 3.6. So what I've got here is the, you can see that, just some gray primer paint. I've got my Cobi model. It's here on my little paint stand that does rotate, makes it easy. Just a couple of Legos that go on there. I have taken off the windshield and steering wheel and a little piece of glass that was right here. And what I'm going to do now is take off the wheels because I don't want to paint those. I don't want to prime those. And the side grille does have printing on it, so we're going to have to just color that in by hand when we're all done. All right, here we go. Oh my goodness. So as I paint, it's just short strokes about 8 inches away from the model. If you don't get it all in the first sprays, no worries, because you'll just come back and get it in the second coat. It goes without saying that you need a well-ventilated area. Don't do this inside. The paint fumes are toxic. I have a fan running here in the workshop, so it's sucking out the fumes. So what we're going to do is just hit it like that. Give it about 10 minutes to dry. And we'll come back and hit it again. 10 minutes. My painting system that I use here, I have a hinged Lego, which is really nice because it allows me to spray the bottom of the truck pretty quick and easy, and I don't have to take it off the stand. Just a couple extra spare Legos. It's a great way to do it if you plan on painting a lot of your models. If not, you could just turn it upside down and do it. Try to get the inside and the doors. Front looks good. So you just got to make sure your Lego bricks are connected, because I have dropped them. I've turned them over and about 2 seconds later they've fallen and broken. And you just have to fix it, which is a pain. So I'm gonna use my fingers and just got to be wary of your fingerprints. Even though the paint's mostly dry, if you touch a flat surface, you'll leave a fingerprint. Easy to fix. You'll just sand it out. I'm just going to spray this guy. Just look for any little cracks that you may have missed. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect, because you are going to put other paint on this vehicle. But even now, if we didn't do anything else, this vehicle is much more closer to the actual German colors, and you can do a lot with it. If you're feeling creative, you could put some tiles here, but I'm not going to worry about that because it's going to be the inside of the truck, and we're going to turn it into a, I'm just going to move the tires out of the way. We want them to be more black than gray. Quick spray here. The gray primer just makes the other paint stick so much better. If you don't have any experience in working with colors, spray painting, building models like this, if you don't prime it and you just decide to put your standard color on it, you'll find that it just doesn't look as good. You can get away with it, but it's definitely worth the extra 30 minutes and the extra $5 or $6 in paint to make sure you prime your model and you know, just get them a good coat of paint. As far as the tires go, I normally hang these outside on a a little device I've made so I can spray both sides at once. But here it's raining in the shop, or outside the shop. So I'm going to give them a quick coat. And I like to use this chalky finish. It's kind of a dark gray, light black. You can use whatever you want, but it just makes the tires not look plasticky. Not a heavy coat. You can do the back sides here in a minute when they dry. All right, so just going to do the second coat of the gray up top. Looks good. So all in all, I've probably got about 20 minutes invested in painting this. Painting this way is not for a professional scale modeler or somebody who's really into the details, you know, making sure every rivet is washed and you dry brush the entire model. This type of painting that I'm showing you is just so you can have some very cool looking models. They look more realistic in your builds, your dioramas. I mean, people who build this type of model, they are not going to take them apart and connect them to other Legos. It's just not what we do. So if you add a little glue to it, you paint it, you know, these are permanent. These are things that are going to be on your shelf or in your room or in your den, your lobby, whatever, for a long time. Some people are worried about the resale value of these. You know, reality is, you know, if you pay $30 for this model and you think you're going to sell it more than 10, you're crazy, right? So these are kind of for your personal enjoyment. See what you can do, see what you can make, and kind of go from there. What I need to do now, this part's drying. I can move this a little bit. The bottom needs to be darkened. So we're going to spray the bottom right up in here in the wheel wells, because that's going to make your model look more realistic to have light and dark shades. So we're going to put a base coat of dark underneath it here. To paint the bottom, to give it that darker tone, I'm going to use this chalkboard paint. I just got it. Normally I use the chalky gray. This one is a little bit darker. So just going to experiment it with this model and see kind of how it looks. So oddly enough, side note, I normally buy my paint at Lowe's. The camo paint is normally about $7 or $8 a can, so it's not very expensive. You know, if you buy all the military colors, you're going to spend about $30 max. Always shake your paint up. If you didn't know this, that little ball in there, that's actually a marble. But anyway, I bought some of this paint here on Amazon. It was actually $2 cheaper than Lowe's, which is a good deal. So what I want to do is not go crazy with this, and I do want to spray the bottom part of my model to make it dark. So you can see that. All right. Do not spray this close, you'll get drips. Spray from far away. Okay? And we're not going to hit our doors, but if we do, we'll put a little bit more gray in there. So again, this is kind of weathering, right? The stand's in the way, so I'm going to move it here in just a second. Just want to make sure I have some darkness. I don't want it totally black, because that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm going to put a little bit. And some right there. I could tape all this off, but again, my goal is to show you how you can do it as a spray can, rattle can type person. Same thing here. Going to hit the underside right in here. Short bursts from far away. If you do a heavy burst, you'll be sorry, because you will have a lot of paint on that model. So there we go. You can see that I've oversprayed it a bit. Pull it back a little bit. So you can see how the side of the model is oversprayed. Oh, sorry. So what we are going to have to do is just hit it quickly with a coat of primer here, and then we'll let it dry for about 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm going to hit it from this side, and I'll be spraying down. I won't be spraying across because I don't want to block out what I just colored. We're going to put a totally different coat on this, so I don't care. Here we go. We don't care about the color mixing because it is going to be a camouflage color, so no worries there. We'll let it dry for about 20 minutes and show you how it looks. On this little Cobi model here, this is the 7.5 centimeter Pack 40, which is a German field artillery piece. You can get it for about $12 to $15 depending where you shop. You can find it on Amazon for about $15. And what it is, it's a 90 piece small artillery. So this is the Pack 40 modified. I've taken the wheels and the chassis and the rear bars off because it's going to go in the back of the Opel Blitz. The German's there for just for the size. I put it on a flat chassis and had to modify the gun placement a little bit, elevate it, and there was a little glue used to keep it all in place, but it does have a swivel mount, so it will mount and go up and down. Ooh, knocked them down. Go up and down in the truck. So let's go mount it in there. See what it looks like. All right, so you can see the modified gun in the Opel Blitz sitting right here. You can see that. It's nice, it pivots and turns. There is a little glue, super glue there. As far as the model, I'll show you the bottom here real quick. You can see where it's been darkened up there on the bottom, and we kind of oversprayed the gray. Everything works. Let me make him a side view so you can see that. So I've modified the truck just a little bit with these tiles, and this is going to sit right between the tiles right in there. I'm going to glue it down. Again, I'm breaking all the Lego rules, but I don't really care because this is what I like to do. And I'm just sharing it with you because you might want to do it. So, got plate on the bottom. This is actually a trap door piece. Got lots of those. They're very cheap on Bricklinks. And I just glued the top plate in here so I'd have a smooth floor. I could get creative and use studs, but this just works for what I'm going to do. And you can see that when I can get the sides to go up. When the sides are up, there is enough elevation for the gun to function, quote, realistically. And with the sides down, a real gun would be able to traverse, 180 degrees. I could mount it here in the back if you really wanted to, so it could spin the full 180. But it would have a crew up there and they'd have to have a place to stand. So in reality, they're going to park the truck in the direction they want to fire. So it will give them a field of fire, if you wanted, of 180 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that in. Break the law some more. All about breaking the law. If you'd like to build military Legos, break the law. So I opted to put a nice smooth plate here on the bottom because I knew I was going to glue it. I could have done this before I painted it, but I find it's easier sometimes just to do that base coat and then actually add the parts. With the super glue, I use, I don't know if you can see that, it's just an accelerator. Again, use it in a well ventilated area. It causes your super glue to set up pretty much instantaneously, so make sure you get it right the first time. Get that thing straight, because if you got to break it apart, you will do a little bit of damage. You'll tear your paint off. So for me, because I break the law all the time, I like to put a little bead here in my weld area. You can see that. Just a little bead of super glue. Don't forget to unclog your super glue before you put the top on. Squeeze the air out so your super glue will work next time you use it. So I put that little bead on there. I just want to smooth it out. I'm going to use a screw. Got just a little tiny screw from my workbench. Just going to pull that in there. I don't know if you can see it real well. You're not going to see it when it's painted. And again, a quick blast of the accelerator sets it up instantly. Now my gun is fixed, so don't have to worry about it falling off on me. So this is how it's going to look right now. Oh, by the way, the accelerator does leave a bit of a residue on the plates. You probably want to wipe it off just a little bit with a alcohol wipe or a piece of tissue, so your paint's going to stick better. What we're going to do now is just add a Okay, so now it's time to put a color base coat on this vehicle. It's going to look something like that. You can see that. So the end result is we've got to start putting a few layers of that tan on there. Turn this so we can get to it. Again, just make sure your doors are open, because it's going to take a couple of coats. And it's pretty light. This is the like a dusty African color, Tunisia, the Africa core. You're going for something that looks a little bit like that. Getting underneath. We don't want it solid. We want a little bit of that gray to show through there. Because when they actually painted their vehicles during the war, I'm going to use this little nail. Actually, I don't need the nail because it's dry. They would just paint over their factory gray or the German army gray. Get this to close. So there's always a hint of gray under a lot of these. I'm going to shoot down as I spray because I don't want to paint under there. You can have a hint of color, but shooting down, it's not going to dust our dark color down there. Getting a little paint on our fingers, just wipe it off on our smock. Again, it's light coats. You should still be able to see some of the gray through there. Spray from a distance if you got to touch it up. There you go. So I got to get a little bit more in the hood. Let me rotate him a little bit. And I got to get just a tiny bit more on the roof. Can's starting to fade a little bit. There we go. So we've got that color on there. If you can see it. And then we're going to add kind of a light greenish color to it. Well, not really light green. It's going to be more of a combination of colors. So I'm going to hit it once with this kind of light olive drab, very, very light. It's kind of a highlight color. That's going to go on, I'm shaking them up here. First, we're going to put this dark green olive color. Just kind of a light spray. Again, spraying down, moving. A little bit underneath. I don't know if you can see it, but it has two tones now. If you feel like you put just a little too much on there, you can always go back and dust it a little bit with the other color. Now I'm going to hit it with just a little bit of highlights of that lighter green. Get it in the back here just a little bit. It's just a process. If you mess up, you just go back and add your other base coat to it and fix it up. You know, just add another coat or two. What you don't want to do is spray heavy, get it built up, and you get a drip, and it just doesn't look authentic. So take your time, let it dry, and go from there. See if you can really get a... Okay, so now it's time to put a color base coat on this vehicle. It's going to look something like that. You can see that. So the end result is we've got to start putting a few layers of that tan on there. Turn this so we can get to it. Again, just make sure your doors are open, because it's going to take a couple of coats. And it's pretty light. This is the like a dusty African color, Tunisia, the Africa core. You're going for something that looks a little bit like that. Getting underneath. We don't want it solid. We want a little bit of that gray to show through there. Because when they actually painted their vehicles during the war, I'm going to use this little nail. Actually, I don't need the nail because it's dry. They would just paint over their factory gray or the German army gray. Get this to close. So there was always a hint of gray under a lot of these. I'm going to shoot down as I spray because I don't want to paint under there. It can have a hint of color, but shooting down, it's not going to dust our dark color down there. Getting a little paint on our fingers, just wipe it off on our smock. Again, it's light coats. You should still be able to see some of the gray through there. spray from a distance if you got to touch it up. There you go. So I got to get a little bit more on the hood. Let me rotate him a little bit. And I got to get just a tiny bit more on the roof. Can's starting to fade a little bit. There we go. So we've got that color on there. If you can see it. And then we're going to add kind of a light greenish color to it. Well, not really light green. It's going to be more of a combination of colors. So I'm going to hit it once with this kind of light olive drab, very, very light. It's kind of a highlight color. That's going to go on, as I'm shaking them up here. First, we're going to put this dark green olive color. Just kind of a light spray. Again, spraying down, moving. A little bit underneath. I don't know if you can see it, but it has two tones now. If you feel like you put just a little too much on there, you can always go back and dust it a little bit with the other color. Now I'm going to hit it with just a little bit of highlights of that lighter green. Get it in the back here just a little bit. It's just a process. If you mess up, you just go back and add your other base coat to it and fix it up. You know, just add another coat or two. What you don't want to do is spray heavy, get it built up, and you get a drip, and it just doesn't look authentic. So take your time, let it dry, and go from there. See if you can really get a... So after I got the secondary base coat colors on, what I like to do is give it a little texture because, you know, the vehicle's riding through the dirt, through the mud, and it builds up. And so my favorite thing to use for that there's a lot of different ways that regular modelers do it, is they build it up. But if you use some Rust-Oleum textured spray paint, it will give you kind of a nice thick coat here. Initially when it comes out, it's going to be a little liquidy, and then you want it to, as you spray it, to start sticking. And again, remember to spray down, not straight up, because we want it to coat the bottom of the vehicle here. I've got the shield popped up here. And it will give it a thick coating texture on the bottom. And don't forget the back, because we know they all get dirty in the back. So that's a base coat of texture. We're going to let that dry. I know it's kind of changed it brown a little bit, but that will dry, and we'll put another light coat of tan and a tiny bit of green on that and kind of blend it in. And then that texture that's here, it will look like mud or dirt on your vehicle. So it's pretty cool to do it that way. All right, so it's the next day, And I'm working on painting the rest of the Opel Blitz. This is the, see if you can see that. That's the paint scheme we're going for. And so I've already started to paint because I don't need to show you every single brush stroke. But you can see the base coat and how that pattern's going on. Again, it's going to look a little bit like that. So I'm just going to paint a bit and you can kind of see how this becomes. Let me show you what I'm using here. I am using, what is it here? The Vallejo colors, right? Your standard military paints. And for this one, I'm just using the 71.019 dark green camouflage. And simple brush. And just a very simple container of paint. Something you have to remember is people try to get this 100% exact, but in reality, when you're painting your vehicle, I'm going to turn this around. The troops are in the field. They are not trying to be exact. They have a bucket of paint, and if they're lucky, they have a brush. They might have a corn cob or something that doubles as a brush. So good camouflage is just breaking up the silhouette. So you can look at the pictures and see how the pattern goes, but essentially it's just to break up the outline of the vehicle as it's in the woods or in the surrounding area. They would just paint their vehicle. So do not worry if it doesn't look too great. If you totally screwed it up, you can spray a few light coats of paint, start over. So one nice thing about this camouflage paint is that it's very flat. So I don't know if you can see it in the video, but this is very flat, and then it has a lot of texture on it because I had used the textured brown here. So it's kind of nice. You have that built-in, that mud texture. We're almost done. Because we've camouflaged over the majority of the truck, we have to add a little bit more dirt and grime and stuff to the bottom of the model. Let me turn this around here. Still in focus? Yes. So on the bottom of the truck, again, this is where the handy little paint shed comes, or the paint stand comes in handy. You can see the brown under here. We've painted over a little bit of it. So we do want to add just a little bit more dirt to the bottom of our truck, but we don't want to paint over our camouflage. So I'm going to be very judicious with how much paint I put in here. And I'm going to actually tape this off a little bit so I don't get paint all over the camo. So hang tight. We'll be right back. So I've got my truck basically taped down. I'm taking the top gun off, if you can see. And it's not put on there very heavily. And I of course have the stick to hold it up so I can get to that portion. But all I want to do is spray a very light coat of the textured paint to give it a little bit of mud to the bottom of the truck. So with the textured paint, it always takes a second for it to come out. So always test spray it before you spray it in your vehicles. Spray from far away, don't spray this close. I'll be out of the frame, but here we go. Get the back here real quick. I'm about 2 feet away. There we go. I'm gonna lower them back down. And you can see the paint, or the tape, it's just barely even on there. It's on there just enough to block the spray paint. And that's that. So the dust, which is actually the tan spray paint, the dust sprayed from about 2 or 3 feet away, just enough to aerosol, just enough to be in the air, will float through and cover some of your, actually you probably need to hit the top too. Cover just a little bit of your camouflage so it's not perfect. Because in real life, you're driving these vehicles, they're getting dust and dirt and mud all over them. So you do want to break out the outline a little bit with a little weathering. And if you want to get super crazy, like I said, you can do a wash. You can do just some dry brushing. You know, it's whatever you want. But this overall paint process for this vehicle is probably less than 2 hours. So I'm going to do this side real quick and we'll go from there. All right. I did decide to weather it just a little bit and to even out my tape mark. It's very easy to do. This is the technique that was developed by me, right? I created it, I'm the inventor. I don't know if that's true or not, but so all I'm doing is using a Q-tip and my spray paint. You can spray it in a cup or a bowl, or I'm looking for a little piece of plastic. Oh, as I work. So I got a little piece of wood here from my shop, right? You can spray it anywhere. So I'm just going to spray a little bit on that board, or a little brown. The brown is too brown, so I'm going to just kind of mix it on my Q-tip. And all you do is you put it on, you touch it, and I have another one. And I just kind of roll it around to spread that color out a little bit. Put it where you think, you know, you're really going to get some dirt and grime and nastiness. I was initially going to do this, but I was like, you know, I'll just show you guys how you can weather with a Q-tip. So it doesn't have to be crazy, you know, it's just dirt, right? But you don't want to have a big splot of dirt. That doesn't make any sense. So anyway, you're just going to apply it to where, it's my colored one, just to where it would make sense for it to be. And then it's dirt, so it's going to rub off. You know, it's definitely going to be around your wheel wells. Plastic works better than wood, by the way. The wood dries pretty quick, soaks in. But anyway, that's how you can add a little bit of weathering to it. Just make sure once you put it on, it's very light, and then you wipe it off with your wipe off Q-tip, because otherwise it's going to look like that, like you touched it with a Q-tip. And we all know that that's not how dirt works. The textured paint's kind of nice because it's like sand in there. So you get the color and you get the texture. So And of course, where the guys would get in and out of these vehicles is going to be a little dirty, right? Because they're going to have mud on their shoes. So, as always, less is more. More is too much. And they're probably going to have a little bit back here. And a little bit of brown there. Because they would have very scientific. They would have stepped on this thing a little bit. Again, just smear it, wipe it in there, smear it a little bit. Can't imagine they're going to fight a war in a vehicle that's not dirty. Who would have thought you could paint your vehicle with a Q-tip, right? Who would have thought you could take your Legos or your Cobi bricks and get crazy with them? So it just takes it to a whole nother level. It gives you the ability not to spend as much money as you know, because you're building all the time. So you can build your pull this back. You can build your model, and then, you know, you can spend almost as much time, you know, painting it and getting it to look pretty cool. Most of us are not going to resell our models. You know, you pay 40, 50 bucks for one. It's not like you're going to stick them on eBay and sell them for $100. We're not those crazy Lego people that do all that. It's like a mop, just getting it in the nooks and crannies. You don't want, you know, two colors. You always want two colors. Blends it in there. And if you were doing winter camouflage, you know, same thing. You put your white on, dirty it up. So sorry if this is a little long and boring, but again, this video is for somebody who, you know, has never thought about this, never done it, was afraid to do any type of painting or modeling. I just want to kind of show you what's possible. I need to see some of the weathering that took place in the model. You can see, like right here, we've added, just with actually the Sharpie, with the silver Sharpie, we added just a little bit of wear and metal to various points of the model just to make it interesting. You can see how the mud was thinned out, and I did put the decals on. There were some that I had printed upstairs in our shop. And the back here, you can see, let me zoom out a little bit so you can see that. So the back came out really nice as well. License plate. I didn't put the pickaxe on there yet. It was drying. And again, one more of the side. You can see the mud. You can see where we used the Q-tip to splatter and to break up the outline. Like I mentioned, you always want to make sure that goes over top of your camouflage, right? Because your truck's been cruising through the woods and getting dirty. Tires are dirty. There's mud on that. We had a line right there. That's been fixed. And just a couple basic decals that I had lying around to finish off the model. Take this back over here. The gun, like we showed earlier, is totally movable. You can position it any way you want. It will elevate. The gun shield will elevate. We can pull down the panels, and we'll take a shot from the top in a minute so you can see that. But it's pretty cool how it all came together. And so in reality, if they were using this weapon, they could use it. Like we had mentioned earlier, the gun is 180 degrees, so they would point in the direction they need to fire. Otherwise the back of the gun will hit the cab. So came out really nice. Point it this way. One of the things we did as well, see if you can see that. Well, actually you'll see it from the top, but we put a little bit of paint up here, discolored it, and scratched it with one of our little tools, like a dental pick. Put scratches up here because in real life, as this gun rotates, it's going to scratch the roof a little bit if it's not totally elevated. The window, I don't know if you can see that with the glare. It's kind of hard to see it with all the glare. But anyway, we taped an arc into the window. There you go. Take an arc into the window, gave it a very light coating from about 2 feet away. And so now you have the dirty windshield look.
I hope you found this video helpful. It was meant to be a basic introduction on how to paint military Legos. It was not meant to be a professional video on how to do professional modeling. The best way to get started is to get a cheap vehicle, take your time, buy some paint, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's all about having fun. Sorry the video was so long. I just wanted to take some time so you could see the process I use to paint my vehicles. Thanks for watching.